dealer's choice.
Hello and indeed welcome to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining for a new series. This time one I'm calling Dealer's Choice. So what's that all about? Well, a few months back I reached out to my patrons and asked, pick me some whiskies you would like me to review. It wasn't a case of here's a list, you know, which would you like me off this list to review. It was a case of just off the wall, pick me whiskies you would like me to review. All right, I had to put up some caveats. I had to be some, you know, because somebody would have said I wanted to review Macallan M. So I kept it to keep it under £100 and available. Now, even the available thing chops and changes, doesn't it? Because what's available today isn't necessarily available tomorrow. So there are a few that were picked that weren't available at the time, but they will remain on the list. If you are a patron and feel like you've missed out on this because you didn't maybe catch it, don't worry about that. This is a series that's going to go on again. At another point, I'll run it at least. I want to run it sort of at least once a year. So just drop me a note and let me know what you would like me to review. If you're not a patron and wish to become a patron, hang around to the end of this review for details. So in this case, 4 whiskies picked at random by patrons for me to review, and the first one that came out of the hat was this John Brilliance, and it was picked by our friend from Belgium, the man on a multi-mission, Menno. Why Menno wanted me to review John Brilliance, I don't know, but I was actually glad he picked it because I haven't, believe it or not, I hadn't tried any whiskey from India. Remember, I am a novice, and I did want to try whiskey from India. Given whiskey's popularity in India, I wanted to try something from there and just hadn't got round to it. This one from the Paul John guys, who's, I think they're based in Bangalore, but the distilleries in Goa. And there's a few things. They use Indian grown barley. They malt Indian grown barley. So they're keeping it there. It's not like they're importing Scotch barley or Irish barley or something like that there to make a Scotch or whisk or Irish in India. They're making Indian whiskey. I imagine this one, the Brilliance non-age statement, I think is probably around 4 to 5 years old. They mature this one in ex-bourbon casks. Now, their maturation happens in an underground climate-controlled cellar. But I think even with that climate control, there's the heat in Goa is just so fierce that I think even for a 4 to 5, I remember reading somewhere that this, even though it's only matured for 4 to 5 years, actually tastes or drinks more like a much older whiskey. We'll see about that, won't we? I mean, that's up to them. That's not entirely up to them. This one bottled at 46%, non-chill filtered. Is there colour added? Well, yet again, considering that sort of probably speedy maturation, that's probably not far off a natural colour. Maybe a wee bit added, but sure. This one comes in around the 40 to 50 pounds mark here in the UK. So well under that £100 limit it was. Now, if this review were to have a title, I would say it was A Tale of Two Whiskies. And we will get to the why of that very soon. So let's get into the nose. Yeah, it noses for me straight out young, spirity. It's malty. It's zesty. There's a lot of confectionery that I would know in this country, certainly some of you may know. Lemon sherbets, those hard boiled lemon sweets with the sherbet in the centre, and apple tarts, yet again another hard, very very tart boiled sweet or candy. There is ripe pear along with that malty. There's a barley sugar as well. honey, more fruit comes through, orange. One that I haven't had before, and yet again I struggled to put my finger on it, but it's the tartness. There's a slight bitterness of it, and it's raisin, yogurt raisins. It's the raisins that are coated in yogurt. I'm sure there's those of you out there. It's not just me that knows these. I haven't imagined it, have I? It's oaky but not spicy on the nose. Now it says, I remember, I think I read it on the bottle, something about that having a whiff of spice. I don't really get it. There is a notiness there, and it's even slightly resinous, I think. Yeah. Sweet and sour delivery. It's not thin, but neither is it overly coating. It just, for me, feels a little unrefined, amateurish. Most of those fruit notes are lost. They become sweetness, and then that spiciness. It's just hard to tie down. Is it like it's a dry, cinnamony thing, maybe? Even slightly perfumed. Yeah. Now, I've given this some time. I know from the tasting notes that if you give this a little more time, it does start to change slightly. Some vanilla notes start to come through. More of that cinnamon, and actually one that I got a hint of Madeira off it. So it does change, but still, I still get that young, spirity, young sort of naivety about it. Now, yet again, the finish. After, at first, I found the finish short, sharp, dry, but then, yet again, I think whenever you acclimate yourself to it, you get used to it a bit. It lengthens naturally. And the gingery heat starts to come through along with the cinnamon. It's just not terribly memorable, shall we say. Now, with that said, I did say at the start, tale of two whiskies. And this is why. For me anyway, remember, these are all personal opinions. Add water. 46%, it can take it. It can take quite a bit actually, I found. And it just brings a liveliness to it. That floral hint starts to come through more, but it tastes, it noses better. It noses more rounded, more blended. Yeah, the spirit has rounded off. Doesn't nose as young anymore. Still sweet, but then you start to add other cola cubes, wintergreen, even a hint of fresh mint. It's much, much nicer when toned down with water. And it's amazing. It makes it feel thicker. It makes it feel oilier. It brings those fruit notes through. And turns down the heat. Yeah, this, when the right water is added to it, when I say the right amount of water, it becomes a pleasurable whiskey. It becomes a whiskey worth the price. It becomes a young whiskey worth a drinking. And that's just with the addition of water. I at first couldn't understand why Menno wanted, why we picked this. Was it, and I still haven't spoke to Menno about it. I haven't given him any idea of what I thought of it. This, he'll see at the same time as you do what I think of it. And I wasn't a fan. I wasn't. Now there's an awful lot out of this, you might think, for somebody that hasn't. But what happened was samples of it went out to the 4 people who picked for this series. So that wasn't all me. Finish. Yeah, sort of medium length, but memorable now. Nice minty freshness of it. Yeah, just becomes a good, worthwhile whiskey. It's weird. I had almost counted this out after my first couple of drams of it because I had it neat. I just did not like it, and I didn't think that water would change it that much, and it does. So if you have a bottle of this and it's not doing for you what you wish it to do, and you want to change it up, for me, add water, and you might be surprised. You just might. Yeah, definitely becomes a more pleasurable whiskey for me. Definitely. So there you have it for Paul John Brilliance. Not good without water, in my opinion. Definitely not good without water. Add water, good to very good. So that is a tale of 2 whiskies right there. Very much so. I'd like to thank Menno for picking it because it's opened my eyes to what can be achieved with the addition of a little water. And it's given me a go at an Indian whiskey. So I do appreciate Menno picking the Paul John Brilliance. There's plenty of it out there. Give it a go. Give it a go. So let's just move on, shall we? Yes, if you like Paul John Brilliance. Now, yet again, I was going to just throw this one out and go, look, no, don't like it, and compare it with something else that I thought was a bit rough. But when I sat down with it, gave it the time it was due, come on now, let's give them the time they deserve. Try them many a different way, put them in water, use it, mix something in it, try it whatever way, and whatever works for you, you'll still get something out of it. So I was initially going to go, now this is rough, here's something else that's rough. But when I discovered that there's a good whiskey in there, it just needed to be brought out, I'm going to offer this from the Tomatin Legacy. Now, this is just a good whiskey for me. This doesn't need to be brought out of its skin. But this is where I was sort of going with it. When you get this to come out of its skin, then you get something that, for me, has a vibrance about it, like the Tomatin Legacy. I know that might not, and it's a very personal thing. A very personal thing, because it's sort of, this doesn't taste like this. To me, given the option for the price, etc., Tomatin Legacy is better than Paul John Brilliance. But, yet again, bring this one out of its skin, and it is a vibrant, good, worthwhile whiskey. This is a vibrant, good, worthwhile whiskey. And very, very, very worth the price, Tomatin Legacy. So, if you had Paul John Brilliance, you got to like it in the way I did, with water added. If you haven't already, try Tomatin Legacy. Can't say more than that. Yeah, this needs water. Starts to become herbal. Starts to just feels different. It's the feel as well. The fact that earlier it felt thin, it felt a bit fleeting. You add water, starts to feel oily, starts to feel coating. Quite incredible, quite incredible. And that was quite a lot of water, as you've seen. So there you have it. Once again, I would like to thank you for joining me. I would like to thank my patrons. If you wish to join that Patreon group, the details are in the video description below. So there you have it. I keep saying there you have it. Anyway, I'll be back next time with another patron pick for another episode. Until then, here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.